guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to part 2 of albums I've missed in 2018. Technically part 4, but for the 2 videos I'm doing in June, it's part 2. Go and check out part 1 if you haven't already. I covered albums from Spanish Love Songs, Kanye West, Slowly Slowly, The Long Shot, and Zeal and Ardor. And I've covered them already, so I'm not going to talk about them now. Let's just get straight into the albums I'm going to talk about in this part. And the first record I'm going to talk about is Living Proof by State Chance. Now, Living Proof is a record that I didn't really have a lot of expectations going into. I thought that State Chance's debut record, The Finer Things, was one of the best pop punk records I'd heard in a long time when it came out. And so going into All Around the World and Back, I had high expectations for that, and it severely disappointed me. I thought it was just a piss poor attempt at a sophomore record, and so going into Living Proof, I didn't really have a lot of expectation, and I think that my expectation meant that I enjoyed this record more than maybe I would have if I'd gone in with higher expectations. I think this record is solid. I don't think it's anything special. I don't think it's going to take them any further than they've already gone. This record is produced by John Feldmann, and something that I loved about The Finer Things was how raw it sounded and how aggressive it sounded. You could feel the emotion, you could just hear that they cared. And John Feldmann's producing has really just stripped all that away on this record. I think that the vocals are way too clean for what State Chance are meant to sound like and what State Chance have sounded like in the past. And it takes a lot away from the entire feel of this record. But I will say that I think the songwriting is really strong. I think the choruses are really strong. Funnily enough, for a John Feldmann produced record, there aren't a lot of whoa-ohs going on. There are a few, but not as many as you usually hear in Feldmann produced records. And there's a cool cameo from Mark Hoppus towards the end of the record, but for me, I think when this record is fast-paced and in your face, it's good. When the softer songs come in, kind of takes a bit of a dive, but overall as a record I think it's solid. Not going to be anywhere near my top 20 of the year, but enjoyable enough, and State Champs fans are going to be happy for sure. The next record is Sister Cities by The Wonder Years. This is a record that came out a long time ago, and one that I had very high expectations for, even though I had never previously listened to anything from The Wonder Years, but I'd heard them talked up so much, and you know, been told they were the white light and pop punk and emo, and so going into Sister Cities, I was like, okay, let's see what you got, and meh, kind of didn't do anything for me. I think there's a few songs on here that are really good. One that stands out to me the most is Pyramids of Salt. That is definitely a really great song. But for the rest of the record, I kind of listened to it and I was like, I don't see what all the fuss is about. I think the production on this record is probably one of the worst production jobs of the year. I think it sounds awful. The guitar tone is horrible, and not in a good way. There's some records that have a horrible guitar tone, but it sounds brutal. This isn't one of those records. And just nothing seems to blend together well. Everything feels like it's fighting against each other. I don't think the songs are all that great other than Pyramid of Soul. And for a band that have got that much hype to put out a record like this, and I've heard other Wonder Years fans be disappointed by this record as well, it's just, you know, I don't see what all the fuss is about. So please enlighten me in the comments of, you know, songs I should check out from the Wonder Years, because this record didn't do it for me at all. The next record I'm going to talk about is Underworld by Tonight Alive. This is a record that I was very nervous for because I really did not like Limitless, the record before this. I thought it was boring, I thought it was poorly made, and I thought it was just an attempt to get into the mainstream. And funnily enough, on Underworld, Tonight Alive have gone back to their root sound while adding some experiments in there, and they've found the most success that they've ever found before. I think this record is absolutely fantastic, and the songs came alive even more in the live environment. If you didn't see my review of their live show, go and check it out. It'll be in my channel somewhere. I'm not going to link it or anything because, wow, too much of it for me. But the songs on this record are fantastic. They're not all bangers, but when the bangers hit, they are huge. Temple, Disappear, Book of Love, Underworld, Just For Now. There's so many great songs on this record. Some of my favourite Tonight Alive songs. I think Temple has cemented itself as the best Tonight Alive song ever released, and I'm excited to see where they go from here, because after this and A World Away, coming out. I feel like there is no limit for this band, even though that their guitar player Whack has left the band. So it'll be interesting to see what they do without him on the next record. But as for Underworld, this record is fantastic. Definitely go and check it out. Next record I'm going to talk about is The Spark That Moves from Cancer Bats. Now, this was a surprise release that came out of nowhere. Cancer Bats have talked about how they wanted to pull an Avenged Sevenfold and just get this record out without any promotion. And Cancer Bats are a band that had a lot of hype back in the day and then kind of disappeared after a couple of disappointing records. So going into The Spark That Moves, I didn't have a whole lot of expectation. I kind of thought that maybe they surprise released it because the label didn't really want to promote it because they didn't think it was that great. But man, this record is fantastic. It actually reminds me a lot of Low Teens by Every Time I Die in the guitar playing. I think for a riff record, this is one of the best of the year, and I get a lot of Every Time I Die vibes from this record. I think the vocals are fantastic. I think just how the guitars and the rhythm section come together to create these really brutal, hardcore instrumentals is just fantastic. It's really great to hear the Cancer Bats putting out great music again, and I can see this being on a lot of people's top 20 of the year. I think it might end up being on mine, but as an entire record, this is great. One you should definitely check out. And then the final record I'm going to talk about is the record Jord, or Jord, or however you pronounce it, by Mol. This is a record that I heard about on That's Not Metal, and one that has really had a big critical response, and has also come out on Holy Roll Records, which is a record company that has been on absolute fire this year with Rollo Tomasi, Conjurer, and now this record from Mol. And I know they've put out other records, but I haven't gotten a chance to listen to those yet. Fucking hell, this is a brilliant record from Mol, and one that is going to be able to introduce a lot of people to the heavier end of metal. If you're not really into that heavier side of the metal scene, I think this is the perfect record to get you into it. I think the thing that will captivate you the most is the vocal performance. I think it is ridiculously impressive. I think the songwriting as a whole is great. It's only 8 songs long, and it goes for about 42 minutes, I'm pretty sure. And it just flies by. Some of these songs go for 7 minutes, and they feel like 3.5 minute songs. The opening track, Storm, is fucking incredible. And there's a few other songs on here that just really blow your mind. There's no filler on this record, being 8 tracks long. There's an instrumental song in the middle that feels completely necessary to give you a bit of a breather, and then it just punches you in the face once again. An absolutely brilliant record, and one that you should definitely be checking out. And yeah, that's all the records I'm going to talk about in these 2 parts of albums I've missed in 2018. Let me know any more records that I may have missed, and let me know what you think of all 5 of these records and the 5 records in the last video. And I'll see you guys next time with another review. Fresh Currents.